Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tech Fails. We all remember the feeling. That moment when a new piece of technology bursts onto the scene, promising to change everything. It's shiny, it's revolutionary, and the hype? The hype is massive. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest, most overhyped disappointments in modern technology scandals, the Segway. This device was so secretly developed and so highly anticipated that people thought it would literally transform cities overnight. It was hailed as the definitive future of personal transportation. Many industry insiders even said it would make walking obsolete for short distances. Instead, it ended up as a punchline, often ridiculed as a quirky mall cop's accessory. It became a spectacular example of a deeply flawed project. This isn't just a simple story about a scooter with two big wheels. It's a deep dive into the failure of $100 million in venture capital and a powerful cult of intense secrecy. It's about a brilliant inventor who completely misjudged the potential market. This is the true story of how the Segway went from the next great technological revolution to a very expensive, ultimately failed sunset product. It serves as a painful business lesson for any company chasing viral hype. Let's get into it. Our story begins not with the final product we know, the Segway, but with its mysterious codename, Ginger, or sometimes simply It. The secrecy surrounding the project was almost unprecedented for its time. The inventor behind this grand vision was Dean Kamen, a legitimate engineering genius with a serious track record. Kamen had already made a significant mark on the world with groundbreaking medical devices, including the first wearable infusion pump. Kamen was undoubtedly the real deal, a true visionary who deeply believed that powerful technology should solve major, real-world societal problems. Around 1999, the first serious rumors started swirling about his next big thing. It was whispered that Kamen was working on something enormous, something specifically designed to solve the massive, intractable problem of urban congestion. He believed cars were no longer viable for short commutes. High-profile tech insiders and venture capitalists were being given secret, non-disclosure agreement-bound previews of IT. Their reactions to what they saw were immediately bordering on evangelical zeal and profound disbelief. Steve Jobs, the master of modern marketing and hype himself, saw the device and allegedly made a staggering prediction. He claimed that if enough people saw this, the company wouldn't even need to advertise or market it. Jobs said people would simply line up around the block to buy it instantly upon release. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, another early and influential witness, invested heavily in the project without hesitation. Bezos commented that the product was so genuinely revolutionary, he was almost completely speechless in its presence. Think about that powerful endorsement for a moment. The two biggest, most successful names in late 90 seconds technology were practically singing the praises of a personal transport device, a device that nobody else had actually seen. The major media outlets went completely wild with speculation and rumor. Time magazine and Fortune were soon running cover stories based purely on conjecture. These articles featured dramatic titles like "The Invention That Could Change the World Forever." The consensus among the tech elite was that this device was going to be an even bigger innovation than the personal computer. The specific details of the technology were kept so tightly controlled that even many company employees were sworn to comprehensive secrecy. The initial, highly anticipated launch date was strategically set for late 2001. This timing was carefully planned to maximize the impact of the long-awaited reveal. But when the massive televised unveiling finally happened on ABC's Good Morning America, the public's reaction was decidedly mixed. The general reaction was one of awkward confusion, not revolutionary awe. What the world saw on the 3rd of December 2001 wasn't a sleek flying car or a futuristic teleportation device. Instead, it was a stand-up, two-wheeled, gyroscopically stabilized personal transport machine. It was formally introduced as the Segway Human Transporter. Kamen's pitch for the product was deeply compelling from a pure engineering standpoint. The core technology, its dynamic stabilization system, was genuinely groundbreaking and brilliant. This complicated system used 5 highly sensitive gyroscopes, multiple fluid-based sensors, and a powerful CPU. Its goal was to constantly adjust the wheels and torque. These systems worked in concert to keep the rider perfectly upright and perfectly balanced at all times. It flawlessly mimicked the human body's natural ability to balance. The riding experience was incredibly intuitive and felt almost like magic, according to initial reviews. Lean forward slightly, and you go forward immediately. Lean back, and you effortlessly slow down and stop. But then, the excitement immediately crashed into the harsh reality of the sticker shock. The supposedly revolutionary Segway HT was given a truly prohibitive consumer price tag. The cost was set at an astonishing $4,950. This was not a cheap gadget or a minor luxury item. This was priced roughly equivalent to a decent used car at the time. The sheer gulf between the astronomical, save the world hype and the eventual reality of an expensive, stand-up scooter was the first fatal flaw. This was the opening act in a massive technology scandal. The initial vision for the Segway was not specifically for random tourists or wealthy private buyers. Kamen and his team genuinely believed that institutional buyers would purchase them by the thousands. These buyers were expected to include local government organizations, various police forces, and massive corporate and university campuses. They envisioned a future where commuters ditched their cars for last-mile travel. They pictured riders quickly zipping along dedicated sidewalks and newly built bike paths. Here's precisely where the critical market analysis failed spectacularly and definitively. The first failure was the major dissonance between the price versus utility. For almost $5,000, the Segway didn't successfully solve a major daily problem. Furthermore, any problem it did solve was already addressed by much cheaper, more reliable, and universally accepted alternatives. Alternatives like bicycles, roller skates, skateboards, or even just walking. The Segway was a complex, battery-dependent, and over-engineered solution in search of a clearly defined problem. The market just didn't need it at that price point. The second huge mistake was the infrastructure problem. Kamen boldly envisioned a world that would fundamentally adapt to his machine. He genuinely thought city governments would quickly clear specific lanes, rewrite obscure traffic laws, and redesign public sidewalks specifically for his device. This utopian view never materialized. The Segway was generally too big for crowded, pedestrian-heavy sidewalks. It was simultaneously too slow for official bike lanes. Furthermore, it was outright illegal on most major city streets. The device existed in a frustrating and untenable legal and physical gray zone, severely restricting where it could be used. This made it impractical for true mass adoption. The third and arguably most destructive issue was the perception problem. Ultimately, and often unfairly, riding a Segway looked fundamentally ridiculous to the casual observer. For any consumer product aiming for widespread adoption, public perception is absolutely everything. The Segway quickly became the definitive symbol of an overpaid tourist. It was seen as an awkward novelty or, worse, the accessory of a power-tripping mall security guard. It had zero cool factor and couldn't shake its awkward image. This widespread perception problem severely hampered its ability to ever go truly mainstream. This solidified its status as one of history's most prominent failed projects. If the cost alone didn't stop mass adoption, the complex safety and legal hurdles certainly ensured the device's niche status. The Segway, while brilliantly engineered for balance, was essentially a high-speed vehicle. It was operating on the same shared pedestrian space as young children and the elderly. Its top speed of about 12.5 miles per hour was simply too fast for crowded sidewalks and busy areas. This created immediate and lasting legal chaos for local authorities. States and municipalities had to scramble aggressively to classify the device for regulatory purposes. Was it a motorized scooter? Was it an official pedestrian? Was it legally a moped? The serious lack of standardized laws meant that in many major urban centers, riding one was simply illegal outside of a private facility. Then came the unavoidable accidents. Because riders were standing so high off the ground, a sudden stop, collision, or unexpected fall resulted in a much harder, more dangerous impact. Most famously, the device was involved in a tragic incident in 2010 that shocked the world. Jimmy Heselden, a British businessman who had actually purchased the Segway company, died while riding one. He tragically rode the device off a 30-foot cliff near his home in an incident attributed to human error and difficult terrain. Nevertheless, the symbolic weight of the company's owner dying on his own product was immense. This was a massive, unprecedented public relations technical disaster from which the brand never fully recovered its credibility. This high-profile incident was a brutal, dark chapter in the company's long list of unfortunate technology scandals. A sure sign of an expensive, struggling sunset product is when the company gets sold and passed around like a hot potato. The Segway had multiple owners, each one trying and ultimately failing to turn the brand around. Between 2001 and 2009, Dean Kamen's company, Segway Incorporated, struggled badly to meet wildly optimistic and highly aggressive sales targets. They projected sales of 50,000 to 100,000 units in the first year alone. The painful reality was they sold barely 20,000 units in the first 5 years of operation combined. The market simply wasn't there. In 2009, Segway was sold to a consortium of investors led by the aforementioned Jimmy Selden. Then came the most ironic and stunning twist in this entire tech fail story in 2015. Segway was unexpectedly acquired by its own competitor, the massive Chinese robotics firm Ninebot. Ninebot had actually been successfully producing much cheaper, non-balancing electric scooters. Ninebot was previously sued by Segway for alleged patent infringement. In a stunning corporate reversal, Ninebot acquired the very company it was accused of stealing from. This signaled the definitive end of Segway as a true American innovation story and its full transition into a corporate accessory brand. The core concept did eventually go mainstream, but only later. The ultimate irony of the Segway is that its core concept, personal, battery-powered, stand-up, last-mile transportation, did eventually thrive. It just didn't succeed with the Segway's original design. Enter the highly successful dockless electric scooter and bicycle sharing services like Bird, Lime, and Spin, which exploded across global cities starting around 2017. These companies learned all of the Segway's painful, expensive lessons. Lesson 1. They didn't sell the actual device for $5,000. They sold the ride for just a few dollars, lowering the barrier to entry to almost zero for the consumer. Lesson 2. They gained infrastructure acceptance. By being small, foldable, and ubiquitous, they became readily accepted as a natural extension of public transit. Lesson 3. They avoided the ownership hassle and high cost. You don't have to charge, store, or worry about your own device being stolen. You simply pick it up quickly and drop it off conveniently. In essence, the Segway was simply about 15 years too early for the market. It was too expensive, too bulky, and overly proprietary in its design. It was a classic example of an over-engineered solution for a problem the market was not yet willing to pay for. The true, winning innovation wasn't the balancing technology. The real innovation was the simple, reliable, cheap electric motor and battery technology. Once those components became universally cheap, reliable, and small enough, the market found a much simpler, more accessible form factor. The Segway story officially closed on the 15th of July 2020. Ninebot formally announced that they would be permanently discontinuing production of the original Segway personal transporter, the Segway PT. In their final press release, they acknowledged the inevitable market failure. The device made up less than 1.5% of the company's overall revenue, making it commercially non-viable. The factory in New Hampshire, which once represented the audacious future of transportation, was subsequently shut down for good. The original revolutionary vision had sadly become a minor, unprofitable niche product. So, what are the biggest takeaways from this spectacular tech fail story? The Segway remains a powerful case study in how brilliant, even pioneering engineering is simply not enough to guarantee genuine market success. Lesson 1. Don't overshoot the value proposition. Kamen's mistake was believing that intense hype and technology scandals could successfully replace real-world daily utility. When you strongly promise to change the world, your product must ultimately do much more than just replace a brisk walk. The $5,000 cost point didn't match the actual consumer benefit. This is the classic recurring trap of the failed project. The underlying invention is scientifically brilliant, but the fundamental business case is weak or entirely non-existent. Lesson 2. The importance of form and function. The Segway tragically failed what we call the look test. New technology must integrate into human life seamlessly and naturally. If a product makes its user feel socially self-conscious or awkward, no amount of technical genius can ultimately save it from becoming a long-running cultural laughingstock. The ultimate goal of a truly disruptive and successful product is to quietly fade into the background as an essential tool, not to conspicuously stand out awkwardly in the foreground. Lesson 3. Evolution beats revolution. Instead of trying to dramatically force an entirely new infrastructure and complex legal framework into existence, a successful new transport technology needs to fit into existing structures. This means fitting into existing sidewalks, bike lanes, and public transit hubs. The Segway tried for a total market revolution. Its ultimate successors wisely took a far more evolutionary, iterative approach. The Segway's entire journey from the mysterious, world-changing it to a permanently discontinued sunset product is a permanent $100 million reminder for all tech companies. It proves that in the highly competitive world of technology, sometimes the simplest, cheapest, and most easily accessible solution is ultimately the only one that truly wins in the long run. Thanks for watching this deep dive into one of the most famous technology scandals of the 21st century. What other legendary tech fails do you want us to cover on the channel? Let us know in the comments below right now. Hit that crucial subscribe button for more analysis, and we'll see you in the next one.